The message that changed everything came on an ordinary Tuesday. Dr. Sarah Chen stared at her quantum processor's display, her hands trembling as she reviewed the decoded alien transmission for the 5th time. After 3 years of intercepting and decrypting hegemony communications, she'd finally found something that made her blood run cold. Director Matthews needs to see this now, she whispered to herself, quickly encrypting the data onto a secure crystal. The Lunar Science Institute's halls were nearly empty at this late hour, her footsteps echoing against polished floors as she rushed to the director's office. James Matthews was still at his desk, as he always was during lunar nights. When Sarah burst in without knocking, he merely raised an eyebrow. 20 years of leading humanity's most advanced research facility had taught him to stay calm in any situation. "They've been lying to us since first contact," Sarah said, plugging the crystal into his desk interface. "All of it. The technological assistance, the medical breakthroughs, the FTL drive specs. It's all been carefully designed to limit us." A holographic display filled with streams of alien text and technical diagrams. Matthew's expression darkened as he read. "Explain," he said simply. "The hegemony's supposedly benevolent guidance program. It's actually a sophisticated containment protocol. They've been giving us deliberately flawed technologies, designs with built-in limitations that prevent us from reaching our full potential." Sarah highlighted specific sections of text. "Look at these power coupling specifications they provided for our fusion reactors. They're intentionally inefficient, wasting nearly 40% of the possible output." Matthews leaned forward, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic glow. "How long?" "Based on these communications, they've been doing this since they first detected our radio signals in the 1940s. They've been watching us, studying us, looking for ways to ensure we develop exactly as they want." Sarah pulled up another document. "But here's the interesting part. We're not developing the way they expected." The display showed comparative analysis charts. "See these deviation patterns. Every time they introduce a limiting technology, human innovation finds ways around it. We're not just overcoming their restrictions. We're using them as stepping stones to develop entirely new approaches they never anticipated." Matthews stood slowly, walking to the window that overlooked the lunar surface. Earth hung in the black sky, a blue marble that held billions of lives unaware of this cosmic deception. "How many other species are they doing this to?" "Unknown," Sarah replied. "But there are references to other guidance programs in their database. We're probably not the first. We might be the first to catch them at it, though." Matthews was quiet for a long moment, still staring at Earth. "Does the hegemony know we've discovered this?" "No. Their encryption was perfect by their standards. They never expected us to develop quantum decryption this advanced. They still think we're centuries away from that level of computing." A slow smile spread across Matthew's face. "Then we have an advantage. They think their containment protocols are working perfectly, that we're developing exactly as they planned." He turned back to Sarah. "We're going to keep it that way. For now." "Sir, get me a secure line to the Security Council. It's time humanity showed the hegemony exactly what happens when you try to cage something you don't fully understand." He paused, looking back at Earth. "And Sarah, give your quantum decryption team a bonus. They just changed the course of human history." As Sarah hurried out to make the calls, Matthews began composing a message to Earth's highest authorities. The hegemony had spent centuries carefully constructing humanity's cage, never realizing they were actually forging humanity's weapons. Soon, they would learn that humans didn't just break out of cages, they turned them into armor and struck back with the very bars that once held them. The game of cosmic deception was about to shift, and humanity was finally ready to play by its own rules. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility that officially didn't exist, Project Phoenix was taking shape. Admiral Elena Rice stood before a wall of holographic displays, watching as simulations played out scenarios that would have seemed impossible just months ago. "Show me test sequence 47 again," she commanded. The central display lit up with a demonstration of their latest breakthrough. A small probe, barely larger than a coffee cup, twisted hegemony technology in ways its creators never intended. Dr. Chen, newly promoted to Chief of Special Projects, stepped forward. "The beauty of it is its simplicity," she explained. "We're not fighting their limitations, we're embracing them, then pushing them past their breaking point." The probe in the simulation approached a hegemony sensor array. According to everything the aliens knew about human technology, it shouldn't have been able to get within a light year without detection. But as they watched, the probe slipped past every defense, invisible to the very systems the hegemony had given humanity. "They gave us restricted scanning technology," Sarah continued, thinking the limitations would keep us from developing effective stealth systems. Instead, those limitations showed us exactly how their detection systems work, and more importantly, how to exploit their blind spots. Admiral Rice nodded slowly. "And the quantum interface." Sarah's face lit up with pride. "Even better than we hoped. The hegemony's quantum communication network is based on principles they thought we couldn't possibly understand for centuries. But they made a crucial mistake. They assumed our mathematics would develop along the same paths as theirs." She brought up another display, showing complex equations that merged human theoretical physics with adapted alien technology. Human minds approach problems differently. Where they see limitations, we see opportunities. The very restrictions they built into their gift of quantum theory gave us insights into aspects of quantum mechanics they've never explored. "How long until we can deploy?" Rides asked, her eyes fixed on the simulation's results. "The first wave of probes will be ready in 3 weeks. The carrier ships." Sarah checked her data pad. 4 months, assuming we maintain current production schedules. Rice turned to the other person in the room, a man who had been quietly observing from the shadows. "Director Matthews, your assessment." James Matthews stepped into the light, older now, but his eyes sharper than ever. "The hegemony's greatest weakness is their certainty. They're so convinced of their superiority, so sure their containment protocols are working, that they've become blind to the possibility of failure." He gestured to the displays. "Every piece of restricted technology they gave us, every limitation they imposed, has become a key to understanding their systems. They thought they were giving us a carefully controlled subset of their science. Instead, they gave us a blueprint of how their entire civilization thinks." "And the ethical implications?" Rise asked. "We're talking about using their own technology against them in ways they never imagined possible." Matthew's face hardened. "They've been manipulating our species' development for centuries, Admiral. They've interfered with our natural progress, all while pretending to be our benefactors. I'd say the ethical lines were crossed long ago, and not by us." Sarah brought up a new display, showing the global network of hidden production facilities. In abandoned mines, underwater bases, and orbital factories, humanity was quietly preparing its response to generations of alien manipulation. "The best part," she said, "is that their monitoring systems show exactly what they expect to see. As far as the hegemony knows, we're still struggling with their basic technology, developing exactly as their models predict." Admiral Rice allowed herself a small smile. "How long can we maintain the deception?" "As long as we need to," Matthews replied. "Their certainty is our shield. They're so convinced of their models that they interpret any anomalies as measurement errors rather than signs of our true progress." The Admiral turned back to the simulations, watching as humanity's hidden fleet took shape. "Then we continue as planned. Full production, maximum secrecy. When we strike." She paused, considering her words carefully. "It needs to be decisive. We won't get a second chance at this." "Agreed," Matthews said. "The hegemony has spent centuries carefully constructing what they think is our cage. It's time they learned that every bar, every lock, every restriction they placed on us has become a weapon in humanity's arsenal." As the three of them continued planning, deep beneath the mountains, humanity's secret fleet grew stronger. The hegemony's carefully constructed containment of humanity was about to become the very tool of their own undoing. The hegemony's central research station hung in space like a jeweled spider web, its crystalline structures gleaming in the light of 3 suns. To the aliens monitoring their sensors, nothing seemed amiss. Their containment protocols showed human activity exactly where it should be, confined to their solar system, struggling with basic faster-than-light travel. They never saw the ghost ships coming. Captain Maya Santos sat motionless in her command chair aboard the ECS Shadowbreak, watching through quantum-linked displays as her fleet of 30 ships slipped through the hegemony's supposedly impenetrable defenses. The ships themselves were humanity's greatest achievement, vessels that turned the hegemony's own restrictions into weapons. "Status report," she whispered, her voice carrying through the ship's neural interface. "All ships maintaining quantum shadow." Her XO responded just as quietly, though they could have shouted without detection. "The hegemony sensors are reading exactly what we want them to see. Empty space." Maya allowed herself a small smile. The aliens had given humanity limited quantum technology, believing the restrictions would prevent any practical military applications. They never imagined humans would find a way to exist in a state of quantum uncertainty, their ships both there and not there, sliding through the gaps in hegemony science. "Package status." Dr. Chen's voice came through the neural link. She wasn't physically on the ship. She was coordinating from Earth, but the quantum connection made it feel like she was standing right there. "The data infiltration virus is ready. The moment we establish proximity, it will utilize their own communication protocols against them." This was the truly elegant part of the plan. The virus wasn't designed to destroy or corrupt. It was designed to reveal. Using the hegemony's own quantum network, it would spread through their systems, quietly unlocking every file, every record, every piece of evidence of their manipulation of other species. "Target point in range in 3 minutes, the navigation officer reported. Maya took a deep breath. Everything they'd planned, everything they'd prepared for, came down to this moment. Begin final approach. All ships maintain quantum shadow. The fleet of ghost ships glided closer to the station, moving through space in ways the hegemony had deemed impossible for humans to achieve. Inside the station, thousands of alien scientists continued their work, never noticing that their carefully constructed cage was about to become their prison. "Contact in 60 seconds, the XO announced. "Quantum signature stable. They still haven't detected us." Maya watched the countdown on her display. "Dr. Chen, stand by for package delivery." "Ready, Captain. Remember, we only need 3 seconds of direct connection. Their own protocols will do the rest." The ghost ships settled into position around the station, each one targeting a specific quantum communication node. To any observer, to any hegemony sensor, the space around the station remained empty. "All ships in position," the XO reported. "Awaiting your command." Maya took one final look at the tactical display. 30 human ships, supposedly impossible by hegemony standards, about to prove just how wrong their assumptions had been. "Execute Operation Truth," she ordered. Across the ghost fleet, quantum tendrils reached out, making connections so subtle they existed more in possibility than reality. For exactly 3 seconds, the virus flowed through these quantum bridges, slipping into the hegemony's network through the very security protocols meant to keep humanity contained. "Package delivered," Dr. Chen confirmed. "Initiating quantum withdrawal." The ghost ships pulled back, maintaining their quantum shadow state. On the station, nothing visible had changed. The alien scientists continued their work, unaware that every file, every record, every piece of data was being quietly unlocked and prepared for transmission across the galaxy. "All ships accounted for," the XO reported. "No signs of detection." Maya nodded slowly. "Begin withdrawal. Standard quantum shadow protocols." She opened a channel to Earth. "Admiral Rice, Phase 1 is complete. The truth is in their system." Back on Earth, in the Deep Mountain facility, Admiral Rice allowed herself a grim smile. "Well done, Captain. Return to base. Phase 2 begins when the data starts flowing." As the Ghost Fleet slipped away from the station, Maya thought about the chaos that would soon unfold. The hegemony was about to learn that their greatest weapons, secrecy and control, had become their greatest vulnerabilities. And humanity, the species they had tried so hard to contain, had become the key to their undoing. The silent strike was complete. Now they would wait for the truth to do what weapons never could: shatter the foundations of the hegemony's power, one revealed secret at a time. Pandemonium erupted across hegemony space as their own quantum networks betrayed them. In the grand chamber of the Hegemony Council, High Administrator Vexthor watched in horror as centuries of careful manipulation and control unraveled before his eyes. "How is this possible?" he demanded, his crystalline form pulsing with agitation. "The humans shouldn't have this capability. Our containment protocols have failed completely," interrupted Senior Analyst Zinra, her holographic form flickering with distress. "The data, it's everywhere. Every system, every network, every quantum channel. And we can't stop it because it's using our own security protocols to spread." On screens across the chamber, classified files streamed endlessly, documents detailing not just humanity's containment, but the systematic manipulation of dozens of species across thousands of years. The hegemony's greatest secret, their program of galactic control through technological suppression, was being broadcast to every world under their influence. In orbit around Earth, Admiral Rice stood on the bridge of the ECS Defiant, watching the chaos unfold through quantum feeds. Status of the Hegemony Fleet. "Multiple signatures detected, Admiral," her tactical officer reported. "They're mobilizing everything they have. It seems they're done with subtle manipulation." Rice nodded grimly. "As expected. Signal all Ghost Fleets. Operation Checkmate is now active." Across human space, hidden shipyards emerged from quantum shadow. Vessels that shouldn't exist by hegemony standards revealed themselves, each one incorporating centuries of human innovation wrapped around the aliens' own restricted technology. "Message from Dr. Chen," her communications officer announced. "The quantum virus has reached full penetration. Every hegemony system is compromised. She says," he paused, double-checking the message. "She says they're trying to purge their networks, but they can't. The virus isn't just in their computers, it's in the quantum fabric of their communication system." A bitter smile crossed Rice's face. "They gave us limited quantum technology, thinking we couldn't possibly understand its true potential. They never considered that human mathematics might find paths their science never imagined." "Admiral," the tactical officer called out. "Multiple hegemony warships entering the solar system. They're not even trying to hide their approach." "Of course not," Rice replied calmly. Their entire system of control was based on secrecy and manipulation. Now that the truth is exposed, they've only got one option left: brute force. The Hegemony Fleet emerged from hyperspace, thousands of ships strong. Their command channels were filled with rage and disbelief as they discovered human vessels waiting for them. Vessels that incorporated technology they had deemed impossible for humanity to develop. "All ships, battle formation Delta," Rice ordered. "Remember your training. Everything they think they know about our capabilities is wrong. Let's show them exactly what humanity can do when we stop playing by their rules." The space around Earth lit up with quantum fire as the two fleets engage. Hegemony ships, relying on what they thought was superior technology, found themselves outmaneuvered by human vessels that turned their own scientific restrictions into tactical advantages. "They're targeting our quantum communication arrays," her tactical officer reported. "They think if they can cut us off from the network." "They don't understand," Rice interrupted. "We're not dependent on their network anymore. We built our own, using principles their science never discovered." She watched as another wave of hegemony ships fell into a quantum trap, their weapons passing harmlessly through human vessels that existed in multiple states simultaneously. In the Hegemony Council chamber, Vex Thor received the battle reports with increasing despair. "Impossible," he whispered. "Their development was controlled, limited. We gave them restricted technology. And in doing so," Zinra replied, "we gave them a blueprint of our weaknesses. Every limitation we placed on them became a window into our own technological blind spots. They didn't break our restrictions. They transformed them into weapons we never imagined possible." The battle for Earth continued, but its outcome was already clear. The Hegemony's carefully constructed system of control had become the tool of their own defeat and humanity. The species they had tried so hard to contain had become something they never expected. Proof that true innovation couldn't be caged, only challenged to grow stronger. 1 year after the Battle of Earth, the galaxy was a very different place. The Great Hall of the new Galactic Assembly on Mars buzzed with activity as representatives from 100 formerly suppressed species gathered to shape their shared future. Admiral Rice, now Earth's primary representative to the Assembly, stood at the podium, looking out over the diverse gathering. Crystalline Archeans sat next to ethereal quantum dancers, while holographic Zinra delegates flickered beside organic Terrans. The former Hegemony races, those who had been unwitting tools in their civilization's grand deception, were there too, now freed from centuries of lies. "The last remnants of the Hegemony containment system have been dismantled," she announced, her voice carrying across the chamber. "The quantum virus developed by Dr. Chen didn't just expose their deception. It gave us the tools to undo it completely." Dr. Sarah Chen, seated in the front row, nodded quietly. Her virus had done more than reveal the truth. It had become the foundation for a new form of galactic communication, one based on genuine collaboration rather than control. "But our work is far from over," Rice continued. "The Hegemony's fall left us with a responsibility. They spent millennia suppressing innovation, believing that controlled development was the only safe path forward. We proved them wrong. Now we must prove that freedom and collaboration are better teachers than restriction and control." In orbit above Mars, the combined fleet of the new assembly stood watch. Human ghost ships flew alongside vessels from dozens of species, each incorporating technologies that the Hegemony had deemed too dangerous to share. But instead of chaos, this free exchange of knowledge had led to breakthroughs that benefited all. Director Matthews, now significantly grayer but still sharp as ever, took the podium next. The Hegemony's greatest fear was uncontrolled technological development. They believed that without their guidance, species would destroy themselves. Yet in just 1 year of freedom, we've seen more peaceful innovation than they achieved in centuries of control. He gestured to the quantum displays showing various cooperative projects across the galaxy. Former Hegemony research stations, once centers of suppression, had been transformed into open universities where species shared knowledge freely. The human quantum mathematics that defeated the Hegemony has been enhanced by Archean crystal computing, Matthews explained. Zinra energy manipulation techniques have been revolutionized by quantum dancer insights. We're not just developing technology. We're evolving together, each species contributing their unique perspective. In the audience, a former Hegemony scientist, one of many who had defected after learning the truth, raised his hand. But what prevents this freedom from leading to catastrophe? The Hegemony's fears weren't entirely baseless. Reyes returned to the podium. The difference is transparency and choice. The Hegemony sought to prevent disaster by controlling development. We prevent it by sharing knowledge, by learning from each other's mistakes, by allowing each species to develop along their natural path while offering guidance when asked. She brought up a new display, showing the location of the former Hegemony Council chamber, now transformed into a memorial and museum. We keep this place intact as a reminder, not of our victory, but of the lesson we all learned. True progress cannot be controlled or contained. It can only be achieved through trust, collaboration, and the freedom to reach for the stars in our own way. The assembly erupted in applause. Above them, through the transparent dome of the hall, Earth shone brightly in the Martian sky. The planet that had broken free of its cage had become a symbol of hope for countless species. Later, in a quiet moment, Rice found Dr. Chen staring at that same view of Earth. "Having doubts?" she asked. Sarah shook her head, just thinking about how it all started. The hegemony thought they were crafting the perfect cage for humanity. Instead, they gave us exactly what we needed to free everyone, including themselves. Rice added, "The former hegemony worlds are some of our strongest advocates for open development now, because they finally understand what we proved." Sarah said softly, "You can't cage progress. You can only choose whether to fear it or embrace it." As night fell on Mars, the lights of the new assembly building illuminated the landscape, a beacon visible from orbit. The galaxy was entering an unprecedented age of cooperation and discovery, guided not by control and fear, but by the very principles the hegemony had tried to suppress: curiosity, innovation, and the uncontainable human spirit that had shown the way to freedom.